Most power fantasies these days are all about a super strong MC who can spin castles on his hand and wipe out entire lakes on a whim. But the shows where an overpowered MC tries his best to hide his true abilities are way more fun, because they don't get stale after the first couple of episodes. This dynamic gets even more chaotic if the MC is a student, because as we all know, it's really hard to hide anything from your always nosy classmates. So with that in mind, I'm going to tell you about the top 10 anime where the MC tries all he can to hide his true strength at school. We're starting off our list with one of the darkest shounen shows of the last decade, Codebreaker. The anime starts off when morally strict high schooler Sakura witnesses a young boy burning people alive with a strange blue fire. Sakura is disturbed by these events, but she's downright horrified when she learns that the new transfer student Rei is the same guy who committed that horrible crime. Surprisingly, Rei has a rather pleasant demeanour, which makes him popular among his classmates, but Sakura soon discovers that Rei is a cold-blooded and highly trained assassin who has a twisted sense of justice. He likes to make people pay for their sins, and Sakura tries her best to stop him from hurting more people. The plot is a really interesting one, and the show also had some good animation for its time, but some bad dialogue and light-hearted approach, which isn't on point with the manga, makes it a less exciting experience. Moving on from Codebreaker's dark themes, we come to the more laid-back story of Chivalry of the Failed Knight, which sits at number 9 on our list. The show is set in a fantasy world where some people can craft weapons or devices from their souls. These people are called Blazers, and only the best of them are allowed to study at Hagen Academy. Our protagonist Ikki also goes to this academy, but unlike his peers, he fails to show significant magical skills and gets trapped in the F category. However, he's so bad that he even lags behind other F-rated students, and most people start calling him the worst one. Things, however, change for Ikki when one day he walks in to find his roommate changing in the middle of the room. Her name's Stella, and she's a princess on top of being the most prominent student in the academy. As expected, she goes, embarrassed and looking for revenge, she wants Ikki to pay for looking at her royal physique. She wants to duel with him, and the loser will have to become the winner's slave. Ikki agrees to the match, but no one expects him to win, considering he's the worst one, while Stella is an exceptional mage. But what no one knows is that Ikki has a trump card that he's been hiding from everyone. When he's backed into a corner, he uses his hidden power to beat Stella in a flash, which changes the dynamic of the show completely. This anime takes inspiration from battle heroines of the past, and the final product isn't bad. We have a good action romance here that doesn't take itself too seriously. Moving on from one fantasy show, we go to another one called Trapped in a Dating Sim. The world of Otome games is tough for mobs. Yes, I too hate this trend of using an entire freaking sentence to name an anime, but despite having a silly name, this was one of the better isekai shows of spring 2022. It tells the story of a man who grinds a dating sim for many days, but after finishing it, dies while on his way to the convenience store. Classic konbini death trope right there. Since it's an isekai, the man wakes up as a child in another world. His name is Lu, and he soon learns that he's one of the side characters in the same dating sim that he played before his death. He knows he has a tough road ahead, so he trains and uses his knowledge of the game to find a hidden weapon early on. He then goes to the best academy in the country to find a wife for himself. He doesn't want to ruin the storyline of the game, so he pretends to be an ordinary guy, just like the other side characters. But due to some strange turn of events, he's forced to fight not one, but 5 princes in a mech battle. This is when he reveals his hidden weapon, which beats the hell out of his enemies with a freaking shovel no less. The story of this strange anime has some big flaws. Still, it has high points which include good action, and some refreshing comedy which make it a good show. Next up on our list is the underrated action fantasy The Daily Life of the Immortal King. This show is set in a world where people can get really strong by cultivating the spiritual energy around them. But while most people have to work hard to get stronger, RMC Wang Ling is a mythical being who's nearly invincible. Even as a kid, he could beat the scariest of monsters with a single move. However, even he is scared of his next challenge, high school. You see, Wang is worried that people will not react well if they find out just how damn strong he is. So he decides to do anything he can to hide his strength from his classmates. But he isn't so lucky because one after another, he comes across situations where it becomes clear how crazy strong he is. And this is the plot point that drives the whole first season. This anime is full of high-octane action, which is animated as well as we've come to expect from pretty much every Chinese show. So you should definitely give this one a try. We leave the fantasy worlds behind to check up on an anime that has an all-too-real story. I'm talking about another Spring 2022 hit, the Tomodachi game. This action thriller is driven by unexpected twists and turns, and the biggest twist here is our MC Yuichi, who comes across as the sweetest high schooler out there. He's a hard worker who works part-time just so he can afford to go on a school trip with his friends who mean the world to him. But when he gets put in a precarious situation created by one of his friends, he decides to bring out his dark side. You see, hidden underneath his caring and loving personality is a vicious human being who is a master of manipulation. He won't stop until he gets what he wants, and he's willing to sacrifice everything he has in the process, all while maintaining a creepy grin on his face. Since there's a lot of mystery here, I won't go into details, but I'll say one thing. Whoever told us to never trust a book by its cover must have met Yuichi. We leave the dark and twisted world of Tomodachi game behind to check out the cult classic Maid Sama, which sits at number 5 on our list. Now, most of us know this show for having a great romantic plot, fueled by some really funny side characters and over-the-top antagonists. But whenever I think about this anime, I wonder if our MC Takumi was the first example of a supreme being in anime. Let me explain what I mean. Takumi is amazing at literally everything. He can jump off multiple story buildings without breaking every bone in his body, and he can beat up dozens of guys while looking like a rock star. He can cook like a master chef, get exceptional grades, and be the greatest high school athlete in the country. Yet he chooses to stay under the radar and only shows off his strength to win the heart of our female protagonist, Misaki. And it's not as if he's just an extremely talented individual. Multiple episodes show that he has a hidden side, but unfortunately, this side was never explored in the anime's relatively short run. But then again, an incomplete story only adds to Takumi's wild lore. We're moving on from one romantic anime to another to check up on Beyond the Boundary, which comes at number 4 on our list. The show starts off when our MC Akihito notices a girl standing on the edge of the school's terrace. Naturally, he runs to save her and even makes a lot of false claims to make her feel better, but this is when things get out of hand. The girl jumps over the fence and stabs Akihito in the heart. It turns out this girl named Mirai can hunt spirits using her blood, and she thought that Akihito was a spirit. However, she's shocked to see that he's okay even after getting stabbed. He explains that he's a half-breed between spirits and humans, which makes him invincible. Now, even after learning this, Mirai keeps trying to eliminate him until Akihito makes peace with her to avoid getting unwanted attention from other students. This is a really fun story that has a ton of action to keep you hooked. You also get the beauty that can only be expected of Kyoto animation, which makes this one a must-watch. At number 3 on our list, we have another reality-based show where the MC has better manipulation abilities than Satan himself. I'm of course talking about the insanely popular thriller Classroom of the Elite. In this anime, we follow our protagonist Ayano Koji, who is studying at an extremely posh high school where the students are trained to become pioneers of society. Now, ANICODE is considered an average student who doesn't really care about getting better. But we soon learn that behind his carefree attitude is a manipulative mastermind who hates to lose. Thanks to being raised as a test subject, he is extremely athletic and crazy strong. But he hides his strength by always intentionally getting average scores. He can seem caring at times, but all he really cares about is himself, and he won't hesitate to hurt anyone to get what he wants. He truly is a scary individual, but for some reason we can't keep our eyes off him, which goes to show how good this story is. So if you're looking to watch a new show, this should be at the top of your list. Moving on from a cold-hearted MC, we come to one of the most caring protagonists in the world of anime. I'm talking about Araragi from the Monogatari series. Now, if you ask me to explain the Monogatari series in one word, I'll say it's a masterpiece. There are just so many great things about this series, which explores a ton of genres over the course of its decade-long run. And at the heart of it, we have Araragi, who becomes immortal after giving his blood to save a dying vampire. I told you the man has a heart of gold. Now, even after becoming extremely strong, Araragi tries to live like your average high schooler. He's so unremarkable that even his nosy sisters don't know how special he is. In fact, the only way others find out about his powers is when they try to hurt him, which seems to happen a lot because Araragi is kind of a magnet for all sorts of paranormal stuff. Action, romance, comedy and culture. You'll find everything in this beautiful series, which is why it's considered one of the greatest tales in the world of anime. Now, before we talk about the number one anime on our list, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and also hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss more content like this. The number one anime on our list is The Disastrous Life of Seiki K, which basically revolves around our protagonist Seiki trying to hide his godlike powers from his classmates who are always onto him. Now, the best thing about this show is Seiki's slapstick humor, which really makes you wonder if psychic powers are a blessing or a curse. I mean, our boy can't even watch popular shows because he is always hearing spoilers in his head. Then there's Nendo, who's one of the funniest characters of all time. He's like Seiki's kryptonite and is always there to mess with him. There are so many great things about this anime that never, and I mean never, steps on the brakes and goes all out all the way to its great end. So if you want to see just how hard life can be for an overpowered person, make sure to watch this one. And that brings an end to today's video. Do you guys agree with my list? Share your thoughts and suggestions with me in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.